We are back for our all 32 off-season program. What that is we go into the previous season, what they did, we go into this off-season, and then we give our prediction for this upcoming season for that team based on everything last season and this offseason, and give our predictions. The next team on our list is the Washington Commanders. This is a big shock. We infamously made a video where we thought the Commanders were going to be on worst record watch just for a multitude of things. Obviously, we're proven very wrong by them, just because of how efficient they were and aggressive as they were on fourth down, kind of shifted a lot of wins for them. Obviously, the big Hail Mary at the end of the Chicago Bears game, they just had some really dramatic wins, which shot them way higher than what they were supposed to be. And let's get into the season, though. They were 12-5, second in the NFC East. Crazy that you can win 12 games and still be second. 7-2 at home, 5-3 on the road. In the wild card round, they squeaked out a win at Tampa, 23-20. The divisional round, which I still feel like I just don't get enough credit for the stance that I took during this week. I remember texting in group chats, texting people saying we're taking Commanders money line, we're hammering Commanders money line, like we're taking their spread, like I'm playing the money line straight, like take it with me. Everyone said I was an idiot. Everyone was like, the Lions aren't going to lose. The Lions aren't going to lose. The Lions aren't going to lose. The Commanders go into Detroit as 9.5-point underdogs with a rookie quarterback on the road and win 45-31. In my personal opinion, I know the Super Bowl is a big deal. I think that on paper, that was the most impressive win of the entire season.
As an Eagles fan, I'm obviously going to disagree with you, but I think it was an absolutely close second.
Well, the Eagles were favored in the Super Bowl, were they not?
Yeah, I don't remember, but
yeah, I think they
again,
were.
I'm not going to admit that, but yes, this game was crazy to go on the road up against a team that won 15 games as a 9.5 point.
And everyone at revisionist history and everybody looking back on it was like, oh, like that wasn't that. Every single person damn near pretty much slated the Lions to go to the Super Bowl. Everyone. So everybody that was sitting around like saying after that they won all that, oh, they were hurt, like, no. They were 9.5-point favorites for a reason. Everyone was on the Lions, and the Commanders went in and kicked their teeth down their throat. So
yeah,
shout out to the Commanders. And then in the NFC Championship, you want to talk about belt to ass at Philadelphia. They were just, everything finally caught up to them. You know, it was 55-23. Think about it. They were on the road for Tampa, on the road for Detroit. Then they're on the road in Philly. I mean, that would have been damn near probably the most impressive three-game winning stretch in playoff history. It felt like everything that kind of caught up to them at that point. The Eagles really showed that they were a superior team. It was the third time they matched up with them the entire season. Eagles are a really great team, really well coached. You know, if they're going up for a team for the third time in a year that they're going to be very well scouted. So shout out to the Eagles for getting that done. I mean,
that game was actually kind of close to start.
Yeah.
And then
the wheels
Philly
fell
pulled
off.
away. Yeah. Philly pulled away in the second half.
Bad.
The Eagles won the fourth quarter 21-0.
Yeah. That's when it really, it got bad quick. I think they went for it on a fourth down. They didn't get it. And then after that, it was like, when it rains, it pours. You knew that they just didn't stand a chance. Best season since 1991. That was the last championship appearance for them in the NFC. Shout out to J-Mac. Shout out to Trey. That was a big draft.
Yeah.
They weren't even old enough since the last time that they were in an NFC championship. So
weren't even born.
Good for them. Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I tried to say. Improved to 14-3 in 2023 to 12-5, first winning season since 2016. That hurts. And then first playoff berth since 2020. What was the record in 2020?
Sorry, I didn't have that.
And then this is wrong too, because I said first postseason win since 2025. That's not right.
Did they win a playoff game in 2022?
The next year.
Oh, nice.
So-
Their record in 2020. Oh my God. Listen to this. The NFC East standings in the season of 2020-2021 were as follows. The Commanders won the division at 7-9. The Giants and Cowboys both went 6-10, and Philly went 4-11-1.
I mean, what a bad division.
How bad is that?
So shout out to that somehow, because I was like, wait, they haven't had a winning season since 2016. First playoff berth since 2020. I mean, that's insane. So
yeah.
Shout out to the Commanders. Stat snapshot, total DVOA plus 11.5%, 10th in the NFL. Offensive DVOA 6th, passing 9th, rushing 7th. That really stuck out to me just because it feels like their running backs are bad. Brian Thomas Jr. is a run into the back of the guard every single time. And Austin Eckler's over the hill. Like every time he breaks a run out, it looks like he's running in skinny jeans. And like, I wonder if that had a lot to do with Jayden Daniels having the ability to kind of break out of the pocket and allowing him to just embrace his running game.
I mean, Jayden Daniels had 148 carries last season. So I don't have the exact rush total, but he only had 50 or 60 less carries than Brian Robinson. So
Crazy.
He was pretty much like the lethal weapon on that team offensively, rushing the football. I mean, Brian Robinson finished with 958 yards and 8 touchdowns, but like you said, he is a run into the back of the guard and fall down type of running back. So
hate watching him.
It sucks. Maybe it's because he got shot in the leg.
I don't
he
know.
hasn't recovered yet.
He's not very good. On the other side of the ball, this is where it really falls off of the cliff. Total defensive DVOA 24th, pass 26th, rush worst in the NFL. But then they had 5th in points per game, 5th in yards per game, 6th in third down conversions, and 4th down conversions, first in the NFL. I want to highlight one more thing, and then you can kind of have whatever you want to say about the stats as well. I want to highlight this excellence on 4th down. 23 attempts, 20 conversions, 87% conversion rate, highest of any team since 2000. On passes, 7 of 8, runs, 13 of 15, strictly Jayden Daniels. This was just bold play calling. The trust of Jayden Daniels kind of led to historic levels of overperforming, like 2018 Saints, and then the Chiefs single season conversion rate. They were reaching levels that like haven't been reached in a very long time. The last team to have this level of success were the Colts in 2000, and then the very next season in 2001, the Colts were 4 games worse than they were the previous season. One, what do you think about everything I just said about the stats and then about their 4th down conversion rate? I threw that little tidbit in there at the end because I think that that's going to play into a lot when we go into this 2025 preview.
Yeah, I mean, being that efficient on 4th down is obviously just outrageous. 87% is crazy. Watching the games, it felt like they went for it so many more times than 23.
Yeah.
It felt like they went for it 30 times plus.
Yeah. Well, that's
throughout the season. But I looked this up, and in 2021 they went for it 32 times. 2022 they went for it 25. In 2023 they went for it 29. So like in the last 4 years, this is the lowest amount of times they've went for it on 4th down, but it was the most efficient that they've been. So just like the best 4th down team we've seen in such a long time.
Since 2000.
Yeah, since we were 4. So insane. But yeah, I think that does play a significant role into the 2025 season.
Definitely. some key stats for some players. Jayden Daniels set the rookie completion percentage record at 69%. He had 35 plus 100 yards passing, 25 touchdowns, almost 900 yards rushing. Terry McLaurin, 13 touchdowns, tied franchise record. Bobby Wagner, 132 tackles, 13 straight 100 plus tackle seasons. Really, what's interesting is just top 5 offense in points, yardage, and great on 3rd and 4th down. And then just an absolute fall off on defense. It just seems like they played way, way above expectation.
Yeah, they lost the turnover margin for the season at -3, but they were really good in one-score games and field goal games. They were 8-4 in one-score games, 4-1 in field goal games. But defensively is where they had some issues. I have here that they were 31st against the run and they were 22nd in points per drive. I don't know if that's just because they were old or they just weren't great defensively, and that's something that
Who
they
do they
desperately
have?
need. They had to address it this offseason, but defensively,
who do they have on defense last season? We'll get into that this season.
it was Bobby Wagner, Frankie Louvu.
They don't have a great group on defense. Their secondary's weak. They don't have an edge rusher. They don't have interior D linemen. Yeah, I just don't really love this cast that they have for defense.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up Jeremy Chin, Frankie Louvu, the De'Aaron Payne, Bobby Wagner, Johnny Newton, the kid they drafted out of Illinois, Glenlyn Farrell, just like guys that you know, but just not guys that are. I mean, Bobby Wagner was great, but
but he's 100.
But he is 100. But just like a bunch of guys that weren't Jonathan Allen, a bunch of guys that were good, but not as good as
he was hurt all last year. He's not on the team anymore.
No, he's not.
Okay,
not this year. Not this year.
Storylines from last year. I mean, it's obvious they nailed the head coach Dan Quinn, and Kliff Kingsbury had an absolute resurgence. So obviously we're one season in, but if you look at this one season, it's like you nailed the head coach, you nailed the OC, and then you nailed the quarterback pick, because we watched like teams like this where they won 4 games last season. They get a new head coach, they get a new OC, they get the right quarterback in that system, they go to the NFC Championship. Nobody thought that. If anybody said that this was a playoff team, not let alone going the whole way to the NFC Championship, I didn't hear anybody predict that. So let's just start with that. So shout out to them for being able to do that. But it's crazy. We watched it with the Texans, how fast everything can change when you get a competent front office and then you get the quarterback and the coaches correct. And it feels like Adam Peters in the front office, Jayden Daniels, and Dan Quinn. I don't know if Kliff Kingsbury will be there forever. It feels like he'll probably get a head coaching gig again at some point. But if you get those things right, so much can change.
I know the Texans did this, but the Commanders did it at like light speed. Because they went a game further. 2 games further.
They did. They did, but
I mean, won more
Texans.
Games.
But the Texans went to the playoffs and won a playoff game year 1. Like, it's kind of.
I know.
I get what you're saying.
Won like 9 games though.
I don't remember, but still, they shot out of a cannon. I think also a lot that has to do with that too is like the Cowboys were super hurt last season and the dumpster fire, and I mean the Giants were pretty much losing
also
on purpose.
Yeah, that 100% played into it. They had a relatively favorable schedule, which played a lot into their favor. But I'm absolutely not faulting them for that. They won, what was it, 12 games, played in an NFC Championship. Like, that's nothing to slouch about.
No, they balled. And then one other storyline, just that Hail Mary went over the Bears, like stamped Jayden Daniels. Like Like when that
That is
happened, it was
crazy.
like okay, Jayden Daniels is like going to be good probably for like a really long time. Like he's dog, and then they
You
kind of
don't hit
shot
that.
out again after.
Yeah, you're not hitting that and not being good. I mean, the only other person that I can think of hitting a last second Hail Mary was Rodgers against the Cardinals in like 2015, 2016.
Well, I remember when K1 threw one in 2020 to D Hop.
Oh yeah, I remember that one too.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I did not. That
To
was the last one that I.
win the game over the Bills.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I do remember that one too. Now that you mentioned it. But the last one that, like I said, was, and like those are three good quarterbacks.
Yeah. All right. So the 2025 offseason recap roster losses: Jonathan Allen, Derek Forrest, De'Amon Brown, Jeremy Chin, Cornelius Lucas, Michael Walker, Benjamin St. Juste, which if you ever play Madden against me and we do a fantasy draft and I get Benjamin St. Juste on one side of the field, that third of the field is completely locked down. Alamale Zacchaeus, Dante Fowler, and then the big one, Marcus Mariota, is no longer the backup quarterback. Yeah, I mean, I like some of these names on this list. I mean, I thought De'Amon Brown actually played really good football for them, honestly, at the end of last season. Looking back on it, we're going to talk about them adding Deebo Samuel. I think I'd almost probably rather have De'Amon Brown at this point than Deebo Samuel. That might be a hot take. That might be crazy to say. I thought he was playing good football for them, and like, why not give him more time with Jayden Daniels and in this offense and stuff like that if he was already flourishing like year one. So I thought that was interesting. And then everything else I feel like could probably be replaced. I don't think any of these guys are like studs. But again, like you lose like a Jonathan Allen on that like interior D line, that just makes them thinner at that spot where I feel like they need to beef up, even if he wasn't playing up to expectation.
Yeah, I agree with you with the De'Amon Brown Deebo situation. I've just never like really been that high on Deebo. I think
Yeah,
he's
I know
good,
that.
but I think he's more of like a.
He also went into Philly one time and absolutely ate your lunch, and ever since then you've been like,
Yeah,
you've hated him.
that was the year that the Eagles sucked.
No, he went in there. It was when the Eagles
Yeah,
talked all that shit, and he
when
like
they
went
sucked.
in. He like went in with like real big
Even
energy and like had like 2 touchdowns and like balled. And then you hated him. That's why you hate
no,
him.
no, even before that, I said that people loved him as a wide receiver, and there was times when I would fight against that because I think he was just like much more of a gadget guy than like an actual quality wide receiver, and I was right.
He's just I think declaring you're right on the Deebo situation is strong. I think
He's
that
there's 20 wide receivers that you would
he
have over
he
him.
because I think that his inability to stay healthy, which is a very important part of everything, is why like you haven't seen Deebo be Deebo. He's just like always. I don't think Deebo. We'll get to it. Let's wait. Let's talk about Deebo now. Like they added Deebo this offseason. I don't think Deebo will play through like a scratch on his arm. Like
Yeah,
I
he's
don't.
soft,
I'm not.
and he has a
That's
gut.
that's what that's really the fact that he wore that Eagles jersey at the media day, like with his gut popped out like Bobby Palmer, like looked so crazy, like looked so crazy. Like
No,
I
he looked
still,
like Gucci Mane in '06.
yeah, I still don't really get why he was wearing that Eagles jersey. Like that was weird, but I'm with you. Like as of right now, like yeah, there's 30 wide receiver. I mean, I just said I'd take De'Amon Brown
Yeah, come
over
on.
him, but I think that when he's at his peak, like if let's just hypothetically say Deebo is at his peak on the Commanders, he'll be a game changer. It's just been 2 full seasons probably since we've been able to see him have a complete season from front to back. That's where it like the holdup is on Deebo. For me and obviously for you too, you hate him.
Yeah, I don't remember what they traded for him, but I understand like the thought process of
Yeah,
okay,
if he's good,
let's try to take a chance on this guy. He hasn't been healthy. Hopefully he can get right. He gets to play with a young electric Jayden Daniels. Like, it's worth taking a shot on.
Dude, if he's good for them though, like that could be lethal, because I do think he's best as a gadget guy. I agree with that. And to be able to have Kliff be able to use him as in that manner, yeah, like I think that'd be dope. Like, but again, I just think that I don't know if he loves to. I think he likes to play fully healthy. He's got like that Kyler Murray in him a little bit, where like when Kyler gets like a little dinged up, he like is moving way different. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like what's wrong? Like, more additions this offseason. They obviously traded for Leremy Tunsil. That's probably like the big highlight of the offseason for them, even though that he struggled with penalties last year. I still think that he's a decent player. I think the reason everybody was kind of so stuck on like the reasoning why the Texans got rid of him. I just think the Texans needed a whole new offensive line in multiple ways. And I think that Leremy Tunsil's coming up on a payday. And I just don't think he fit their timeline really of like what they were trying to accomplish. And I think that I could see the Commanders being okay with paying a Leremy Tunsil for the next like 3-4 seasons. I mean, offensive tackles play until they're like older. Like he's never really had any injury problems. So if he can just fix the problem with the penalties, which is a fixable problem, I think he'll be fine.
The Texans issue, I agree, is like, let's just get a whole new offensive line because what we had last year was horrible. I see the vision with the Commanders taking a shot on him because, like you said, I think that's like the biggest thing is that was my hesitation as well with the Leremy Tunsil trade is like, yeah, he led the league in penalties, but that's something you can easily fix. It's not like he was bad blocking.
Bro, think of all of the contracts that the Texans have coming up. They paid Stingley. They paid Nico. They have to pay CJ Stroud. They're going to have to pay Kamari Lassiter. They're going to have to pay, Will Anderson. They have a lot of young talent that I think that they're really worried about keeping on that defensive side of the football. I wasn't shocked at all when I heard that Leremy Tunsil was gone at all, just because of all the moving pieces that they have on. That doesn't mean that Leremy Tunsil is bad. That just means that they had a lot going on. That's why I think this is a plus move for the Commanders to just get a better offensive line, which their offensive line now, if Sam Cosmi is fully healthy, which I don't know if he will be, but I think that their offensive lines like actually went from like being when Sam, I can't think of his name. Sam Howell was there 2 years ago when he took all those sacks and it was one of the worst offensive lines in the entire league. I think Jayden's ability to move within and out of the pocket with this cast of offensive line, I don't think it's no longer the worst. So I like that.
No, I don't think so either. I think it'll definitely be middle of the road compared to what it was 2 years ago. I also think Kliff Kingsbury, as an OC, has done a really good job too of allowing Jayden to like get the ball out fast, which just helps helps the offensive line anyways.
This head scratcher that had everybody scratching their head was the Javon Kinlaw pay on the defensive line. Again, they need bodies on the defensive line. Adam Peters was there when they drafted him in San Francisco in 2021, I think, or something like that. Javon Kinlaw's from South Carolina. Like, clearly he knows him. Clearly he likes him. That's why he's there. That's why he's paid. Might be confusing to some. Maybe he's good. Maybe he's not. We'll have to keep an eye on that and watch it. Will Harris safety, Jonathan Jones at corner, Dietrich Wise at edge, Eddie Gallman, Jacob Martin, Nate Herbig.
He just retired.
Never mind. Bobby Wagner, they signed back. Zach Ertz, they signed back. And then they trade for Deebo Samuel. Yeah.
I think we need to say something about Zach Ertz. I think he deserves some credit for the resurgence that he had last year. Zach Ertz was insane in the red zone. He was their leading red zone target, and he was second on the team in targets, receptions, and yards. It felt like his career was pretty much coming to an end in Arizona, and Kliff Kingsbury and Jayden Daniels just fully revived him last season.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I mean, shout out to him. He's not flashy. He's reliable. I mean, he's going to get you a catch and get tackled. Like, it's not like he's a yak guy or anything, but yeah, he's reliable. Draft recap, Josh Connerly Jr., Trey Amos. I like both those guys. I think Connerly will probably be decent. I haven't really heard much about him, but whatever. And Trey Amos, I thought that he'd be a first-round corner again. Hold on. I don't think that the Commanders have shown great luck at the corner position. Like when they took Emmanuel Forbes, was like 150 pounds, but he like led the NCAA in like all-time pick sixes. So maybe they
he got to the NFL and somehow lost weight.
Yeah. So hopefully they can shake that, but I think that he'll be a good player. He's from Ole Miss. And then everybody else, yeah, I don't know. I'm not very well versed on the guys that they took later on in this draft. Something that I really would have liked them to do, and I said this leading up to the entire draft, is I really wanted them to take in this draft, and I said it about the Chiefs too. In a draft with so much talent at running back and all the guys that were sitting there, I would have liked them to see them take a dart shot on a running back in the first or second round. I think having to rely so much on Jayden Daniels, he did a really great job of his rookie year. But having to rely so much on Jayden Daniels, and they had a historic season at converting, you would have to think that takes a step back, which it will take a step back. And I think building a better running back room and not relying on Brian Robinson Jr. and Austin Eckler at the age of 45 wasn't the best idea going into the season. So that's the only thing I would have liked them to do. But they built up the secondary, built up the trenches as best they could. So sure.
I think they can survive another year with that running back room, although it is weak. I think they really needed to address corner, and I love the fact that they got like potentially another cornerstone offensive lineman. I mean, Oregon was great last year. They had a couple guys come out, and then Ole Miss had like everybody get drafted on that team. So
yeah, you can never go wrong with a guy who could be a cornerstone tackle for sure.
So yeah, we'll see. I like them, especially with if Leremy Tunsil gets paid. I like them being able to just plug Josh Connerly in at tackle, and you have another solid guy on the right side of your offensive line, and he comes at a much better price for now.
So the win total for them is over under 9.5 wins. To win the East, they are second in odds at plus 220. NFC Championship at plus 900, Super Bowl plus 1,800, Jayden Daniels MVP plus 1,000. I am taking all action. If you are dumb enough to bet on Jayden Daniels to win an MVP, on them to win a Super Bowl, and them to win an NFC Championship, even them to win the East, I will welcome all action, because I think that might be the squarest play on the entire board. How high everyone is on this Commanders team going into this season should tell you everything that you need to know. I don't really understand it, but 9.5 wins, I would personally go under, and everything else on this list, I would put as a do not bet.
I really went back and forth with their over under. I changed it right before we started. I originally had them winning 9 games, and now I have them at 10. But I keep going back to their offense was solid, and it never really felt like there was that many challenges. I think they were great on fourth down, like we said. I expect that to regress. The Terry McLaurin thing, I think, is getting worked out, correct?
I'm not 100% sure.
Okay. But I think Jayden Daniels is phenomenal, and I think it's really important that Kliff Kingsbury stuck around and didn't leave for a head coaching job. So that plays a lot into my 10-win prediction.
Yeah, I'm going to do my 2025 prediction. I have them winning 7 games. I highlighted it with their historic 4th down conversion rate. The Colts were 4. Hello.
You said the Colts were something.
So, like I said, the 2025 prediction that I have for them is for them to go 7-10. Like I said, the Colts, they had a historic season on 4th down. When the Colts had a similar season to them, they were 4 games worse. We both agree that they will take a step back in that respect, where they're not going to be as efficient on 4th down. Another thing that I wanted to highlight is their defense, I don't think got any better than what it did last year. And that was clearly a down point for them, where you could pretty much guarantee that a running back was going to have a day on the Commanders defense. I think that's a problem. And then going into this season as well is the Eagles are still good, FYI for everybody. I don't know what is going on with the Cowboys, where every single person has like the Cowboys like finishing dead like either last in the division, 3rd in the division. Newsflash for everybody that has been paying attention to football: Dak plays a full season, he's a walking 10 wins, and the Cowboys are a playoff team. They might not progress in the playoffs because that's not the type of team that they are, but in the regular season, they're a good enough team to either win the division or come in second and win like 10 games. So that's always something to keep in mind. And honestly, I think that the Giants did get better this offseason. So I'm sitting here thinking the Eagles are still good. The Cowboys are actually going to put out a team this year, and the Giants are better than they were. Like, the Giants defense is going to be nasty.
I also have another thing that I want to point out for that too is we didn't talk about it when we talked about the Bills, but the rest advantage for the Commanders this year is drastically different than what it was last year, and their strength of schedule. Strength of schedule is middle of the pack this year. They do have some tough road games. They go at Green Bay, at the Chargers, at Kansas City, Minnesota, and Philly. But their overall rest disadvantage for the year is 13 days. So they have the rest advantage in 3 games versus a disadvantage in 4 games. But I have it pulled up right here. They're at a week disadvantage again, a 7-day disadvantage when they play the Bears, who they won on a walk-off on a Hail Mary last year. They have a 7-day disadvantage against the Seahawks. And although it is the Giants, they have a 6-day disadvantage against the Giants too. All of those teams are coming off of buys at the week before.
I also just want to point out their end of the season quarterbacks that they played. They lose to Dallas. They lose to Dallas. They have Cooper Rush in at quarterback. They beat the Tennessee Titans, where Will Levis is in at quarterback. Will Levis stinks. They win by 1 point against the Saints. Spencer Rattler was the quarterback for the Saints. Then they go and they beat Philly. Kenny Pickett is the quarterback for Philly. Then they win in Atlanta and beat Michael Penix in his first game as a starter. Or not his first game as a starter, but he started playing at the back half of the season. Excuse me for that. And then they beat the Cowboys in the last game of the season. Marcus Mariota was their quarterback, but I mean, Trey Lance was their quarterback for the Cowboys. The stretch that they went on, where if you even start going back to when they were beating a lot of these teams, they win on the Hail Mary against the Chicago Bears. Then the week after they play, remember when Daniel Jones was on the Giants? They beat Daniel Jones on the Giants. Then they lose to the Pittsburgh Steelers when Russell Wilson was playing. I just think that the back half of the season, although that they won 2 playoff games when it mattered most, hats off, team of destiny. They were super hot at that time, but the back half of the season, I feel like their record is extremely skewed because they were playing guys who are backups or not even rostered on an NFL team anymore. So just something to keep in mind.
I think I'm changing my record prediction.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think I'm partially blinded by the playoff success they had, which that's nothing to joke about, but they got hot as hell down the stretch with those teams that they played and those quarterbacks that they played. Clearly they can beat good teams. They beat the Lions, they beat the Bucks, they beat the Eagles, etc. throughout the season. Um, I'm looking at their schedule right now, and I originally said 10 wins, and like as I look through this, I don't know if I can find 10 wins on this schedule.
Well, let's just go through it right now. New York to start the year.
I think that they win that game to start the year.
At Green Bay.
They could lose that game.
At Vegas, at home. I think that they lose to Vegas, but I'm guessing that you're going to have them to win this game.
I was going to say I think they win, but that's a game that when we talk about the Raiders, they're going to be frisky as hell.
Yeah.
That's a team that like wouldn't necessarily shock me if they won. But I do think the Commanders, yeah.
Let's go 2-1. Atlanta.
I think they win that.
Okay, keep track of this.
Okay,
we're at Los Angeles Chargers.
Again, this is another game they could lose. They won so many close games last season, and we're like we stressed, we're so good on fourth down.
I think this is an auto loss. So that's my take on that. I think this is different class of player.
3-2.
Different class of team. Chicago at home.
I think Chicago gets revenge.
Game Chicago.
And Chicago's coming off a bye.
At Dallas.
I think they split with Dallas. So let's just say they lose this one because it's away. So right now they're 3-4.
At Kansas City.
I think that's a loss.
Home against Seattle. I think they win that game.
I think they win that game, but again, that's a close game because of Seattle coming off of a week's worth of rest. So right now they have wins against the Giants, the Raiders,
Atlanta,
Falcons, and the Seahawks. So they're 4-1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They're 4-5.
Detroit Lions at home. I think Detroit gets their lick back.
I think they could too. That's 4-6.
Dolphins at home. I think they beat the Dolphins.
5-6.
Denver at home. I think they lose to Denver.
5-7.
At Minnesota. I think they could beat Minnesota.
6-7.
At New York. I personally think they split with New York this season. I think they split. I think the Eagles sweep them. I think that the Cowboys could potentially sweep them, but I think that they split with the Giants.
Okay, so we're at. I forget what we're at.
They have wins against Minnesota.
They're 6-8,
and then Eagles
6-9.
Dallas again.
They win against Dallas on Christmas, so that's 7-9.
Okay, and then
if Philly has it secured, they would win.
Which is how many? That's 8 wins then.
That's 8 wins. Yeah, that's what I was just going to change.
That's with a throwaway game too at the end. So I said 7-10. You said 8-9. I just really find it.
I'm changing it to 8-9.
I really find it hard looking at everything that they did this offseason and what happened last season, where so many games were decided by those 4th down conversions. That's going to regress. You win a game on a Hail Mary. That's not going to happen again. It's just not. It was just like they were the team of destiny last year. And
they were.
I think that like having Jayden Daniels year 2 is a little different than year 1. There could be potential regression. Also on top of that, going into the Deebo Samuel hurt his hand. He's not practicing. Terry McLaurin hasn't practiced yet because he's holding out for a contract. Those are your 2 guys at wide receivers. So just hypothetically speaking, I'm not saying that they're not going to be good all season, but like, what if they don't? What if they're not ready to start the year? What if it takes a month for them to get their sea legs underneath them and be ready for the football season? You can't afford to have that at this time. I just think that their defense is still weak, and I'm a little bit worried about the stuff happening on the offensive side of the football with like holdouts and injuries, etc. And they're the oldest team in football. I just think that there's a lot working against this team, and it feels like a little silly because after last year, like it was like, oh, we think this is going to be the worst record watch team, like blah, blah, blah. And then they go into the NFC Championship and then turn around right after their hot streak in the playoffs and be like, this team isn't going to make the playoffs this season. Every single person has this team making the playoffs, like an auto right in Sharpie. Commanders are in the playoffs. I don't think it's that simple for them. So I am definitely going to push back on that. If they do make the playoffs, I think it's really by the skin of their teeth. I think they win like 9 games, but I'm going to go 7-10 and them to miss the playoffs this upcoming season.
I think, like I said, them having Kliff Kingsbury back plays in their favor. I think the only way that like Jayden Daniels would have to play like an MVP. And I think that that's how they would realistically get into the playoffs, which he very well could.
It's a lot to ask.
But it is a lot to ask for sure.
Especially when your 2 wide receivers aren't practicing.
And that's what I was just going to say is it's a lot to ask when, as of right now, your starting wide receivers are Noah Brown and Luke McCaffrey.
Yeah. That is not anything that you want.
With a 34-year-old Zach Ertz.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of old guys on this team. So
yeah,
it sounds like I talked you out of it a little bit. I'm happy I could because I think I'm just really trying to sit here and figure out why everybody is just like auto putting them like in this upper echelon of teams after one season. I think that is like a vast overreaction to like what they are as a team personally. So,
well, this happens every single year that there is a really talented rookie quarterback. We saw the same thing happen with CJ Stroud where the following season, the schedule got a little more difficult. There's a little bit more footage or a little bit more film on you. And everybody overhypes how successful they'll be that year. And they went out and they had the same exact record as they did his rookie year.
Do people not remember that the Cowboys and the Eagles are in this division? Like, they split with the Cowboys last year when Cooper Rush was the quarterback. So like
and they split with the Eagles in a game where Kenny Pickett played 3.5 quarters. Like,
it's just very interesting. Like where I feel like nobody's talking about that. I mean, it is what it is. Hey, we planted our flag on the Commanders again. It's way different than everybody else. If we're wrong again, then we'll have to say sorry again. But I'm feel pretty confident in this pick, honestly. This is the one too, and I'm planting my flag on.
I'm looking at this right now, and they've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess Marshawn Lattimore is like a new guy because they acquired him later in the season. But like they have 5 new guys on the defensive side of the football. They've got 1, 2, 3 new starters on the offensive side of the football. Like there was a good amount of turnover on a bad defense. So just something to consider.
Yeah, perfect. Well, let's close out. Commanders, sorry.